Good morning, Warden and members of the Middlesex County Library Board. We're here today to open the meeting for the Middlesex County Library Board meeting of Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I will ask Lindsay Brock to read the land acknowledgements as follows.
We acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Lenape-Wauk peoples who have long-standing relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames First Nation, and Munsee Delaware Nation. We acknowledge the treaties that are specific to this area: Treaty 2, McKee Purchase; Treaty 3, Between the Lakes Purchase; Treaty 6, London Township Purchase; Treaty 21, Longwoods Purchase; and Treaty 29, Huron Tract Purchase. We value the significant contributions, both in the past and the present, of local and regional First Nations of Turtle Island. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm going to ask now for provisions for disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to the minutes of June 25th, 2025 of the Library Board. Is there any questions or comments? And if not, I look for a motion that the minutes of June 25th, 2025 meeting of the Library Board be approved as presented. Moved by Mary Gay, second by Mary Laird. I apologize. Any further comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Vision topics, 4A, our senior program update and presentation by Liz Adema, Public Service Coordinator.
There we go. Sorry about that. So starting October 1st, which is the National Seniors Day, we are going to celebrate Seniors Month in October, and then we're following that with a virtual program series. Feedback we received from Seniors Month in 2024 and the virtual program series earlier this year indicated that June was a very busy month for individuals for activities such as gardening and travel, and instead they recommended fall programs. As we changed the celebrations timeline, we also debated the title of Seniors Month. Discussions of labeling community members as seniors, older adults, the elderly, aging, pensioner, or senior citizens continues to be discussed for public libraries. In our programs last year, we didn't receive a consensus on which terms to use this year, so we've decided to use seniors without an age range so that we can be inclusive. This year, programs are advertised for both adults and seniors to allow individuals to self-identify if they're interested in the program. And this year, we have 32 programs running in October. 18 of the programs are new or adapted, and the remaining 14 programs are currently running series or mark the launch of a new seniors series. For the 2024 Seniors Month programs, we trialed a digital demo day in Strathroy to share tech and virtual services with seniors and caregivers. This approach was not successful, so later in the fall we tried the same program at an adult day center, which had improved results. So outreach to where seniors already are is more impactful. This Seniors Month, we're focusing on this approach. In Dorchester, Kristen's going to hold the storytime session at Dorchester Terrace. This intergenerational approach encourages children and seniors to share in storytime together, including stories, songs, and instruments or scarves. And we've heard of some families actually asking to adopt, if they could adopt a resident of Dorchester Terrace as an honorary grandparent as a result. In Park Hill, Krista is going to join the residents of the Aged Care Retirement Home. She goes monthly to showcase technology, games, and conversation. And then staff are also working on outreach to retirement and care homes to promote the books by mail service. Family history and genealogy continues to be of interest to our community members. We have several staff who are passionate and skilled at genealogy research. We're holding events in Strathroy, Lucan, Coldstream, and Wardsville this year. iPads purchased with last year's New Horizon grant will be provided at the Coldstream and Wardsville libraries so that more participants can use the program. They only have 2 public computers, so that's really limited these types of programs in the past, and we hope this approach will improve it. Strathroy is also hosting a demonstration on how to preserve family treasures. This was a virtual program in March, and the participants then had asked for an in-person session to be made available as well. Then for our health focus, Susan Oster from the Alzheimer Southwest Partners is providing a session on healthier brains. Utilizing the TV system in Strathroy, we're going to show this program via Zoom to viewing parties at 6 other branches. This allows the program to be offered in 7 branches without requiring Susan to travel to each, and it removes the necessity for other patrons to have to drive to Strathroy to attend the program. Additionally, anyone who's registered and who brings a buddy with them qualifies for a prize that day, so we'll do a prize after the program ends. In our Ilderton branch, we have Jamie. She is a licensed yoga teacher, and so she's offering sessions in Ilderton, Dorchester, and Coldstream this year. So chair yoga has been fully booked in Ilderton now, and we want to highlight as well, Coldstream is going to use their brand new TV system to promote the program. People can join and do chair yoga from home. In addition to, we only can fit 10 sessions inside the Coldstream branch, so again, this opens it up to a wider community. And finally, we have a new partnership with the Connect My Health portal. So this is a Southwest Ontario patient portal that provides free and secure access to all of your health records from participating hospitals in the area. So Middlesex County Library was asked to help promote this new service as well as help people through the registration process. And so they will have 2 information sessions held in Strathroy on October 21st to assist with registering and then to help people create an account. As we move more to creative ideas, our staff always have wonderful ideas for any kind of arts or crafts programming. To highlight just a few of them, Strathroy is going to be creating magical wishes from books. And we've had actually quite a few younger people being like, I want to do that program. So it's nice to see that interest from the other ages. Thorndale is introducing fall leaf painting as well as a needle felting program. And the needle felting program they've made multi-generational, so that's open to youth, adults, and seniors. And finally, Park Hill is offering the opportunity to connect with fellow writers. So whether it's journaling or writing a book, all are welcome to get together, share ideas, and receive feedback. And this will be an ongoing program as well. For lifelong learning, we were really lucky this year. Seniors Month coincides with the Ontario Public Library Week. So the Ontario Public Library Week is October 19th to the 25th. And this year the theme is Libraries for Life. For the seniors programs, we felt focus on new learning opportunities for seniors. So on October 1st, there's going to be a book launch at the Glencoe Library for Gillian Andrews' latest novel, The Healing Stones. As this book is set in 1950s England, participants are encouraged to wear their 1950s vest and come out to the session. In Lucan, Lee has arranged for some community members who recently did a tour of World War I and World War II battlefield sites in Normandy, Belgium, and the Netherlands. So they're going to come and present on what they saw, share their photos, and share some of the stories and interactions that they had while they were touring. In Kamoka, Master Instructor Tammy Gunn provides a session in Kamoka on exploring lightning. So she's going to talk about the causes and then best practices to reduce injury and safely seek shelter in a storm. And then in Park Hill, they're doing a new form of book club. So instead of everybody reading the same book, it's going to be a drop-in. So people can come, share the books that they've read recently, and share ideas with each other. And the intent of this is sometimes book clubs can feel that it's always a certain genre that they're reading, or people don't like having to read a book. It feels too much like school. So in this sense, they can just share what they have loved and have an open conversation. Over the last year, we've really noticed with our staff their increasing social connection programs across the county. So patrons have reported feeling isolated, not having the opportunity to engage with their fellows, and just having an opportunity to talk about current events, communities, or even hobbies. So we do have ongoing drop-in social programs in Lucan, Camoka, Glencoe, and Ilderton. So those will center around games. Some of them are around chatting, others bring in special guests, and sometimes even crafts as well. However, we do have a few special ones happening during October. So Park Hill had a really successful charcuterie board. I'm sorry, I can never say that name. They ran a really successful one this summer. And so they're doing a charcuterie board social for seniors as a chance to come out, try new ways to display foods, try new foods, and have a great time with each other as they do. And then in Camoka and Delaware, they have a large community that does quite a bit of traveling. So they're both offering sessions for people to come in and talk about their travels, share where they've been, and offer any tips or tricks. And then Melbourne is having a senior social. This was planned for earlier in the year, but they adjusted it for this month. What they're hoping for is to share the services that the library offers, but also make the library an opportunity for people to drop in and chat. It may be a small branch, but there's still room for people to come in and connect with each other. And then Newbury is offering a senior social with games and puzzles. The goal of this one is intergenerational, so they're hoping to have seniors interact with children and families and play games and explore together. Again, a very small branch, and they do sometimes struggle with programming, but this is the hope to gather everyone together in the community. And then finally, Lucan is offering an Uno card party. And Elsa Craig is launching a new monthly Wii Sports for Seniors program. And then we also have a bunch of trivia nights. They were really popular this year. So they're being held in Elsa Craig and Ilderton. Those two will be intergenerational. So we're hoping for all ages to attend. And then Mount Bridges is doing a 1980s trivia night for seniors. In Dorchester, Kristen is running a Ruth Ware Murder Mystery Night. So author Ruth Ware created this event during COVID so that people could do it virtually. And this year we're going to do it in person. So participants will solve the mystery around the death of Sir Aubrey St. Clair. They're assigned roles and they work together to try and identify who murdered Sir Aubrey. Glencoe is hosting a very new program, a cheese tasting program. So there's going to be a variety of cheeses that they can try, learn the history of it, what the notes are. So similar to a wine tasting. And Mount Bridges is also launching a new monthly program, the Cabinet of Curiosities. So this is aimed at adults and seniors. So there's a new activity or theme each month that they're going to do. So it could include crafts, guest speakers, dance parties, and more. As this year's event included several in-person trivia experiences, we didn't want to do another passive trivia series as well to take away from that. So after much debate, we settled on a Books Rock contest. So participants can pick up a kit at the branch and paint their own library-themed rock. Bring it back in, we'll do a vote with the community as to their favorites. And at the end of it, participants can take their rocks back home, or if they want, they can leave it in the library garden or somewhere in the library on display. And then our virtual program series. So we did virtual programs from January to March this year, and we received quite a bit of feedback from surveys submitted right after the programs ended. And it indicated a really strong interest in virtual programs running from late fall to early spring, when the weather or frequency of illness make it more difficult to attend library programs at the branch. Participants really appreciated the opportunities to do crafts with like-minded fellows, learn about other services the library has to offer, being able to do programs at home without needing to drive into the library, hearing what other activities other people enjoy, and the chance to attend programs for seniors. And in that one particularly, they mentioned not feeling behind in an all-ages program where there's technology involved, where they feel like they've missed the mark. So this gave them a chance, a bit more of an equal playing field from the feedback. So we did also ask them what it is that they're looking for in virtual programming, and that included crafts, seniors' health, cooking classes, painting, and history. So this year we're doing a painted ornament craft program. After the success of the cocoa tasting program, that was the last one we ran in March, which was really wonderful. So we're going to do a honey tasting program this time. And so participants will receive various flavors of honey, and then they go through and again discuss the notes, what's the influences, the process of making some of the spiced honeys, things like that. So they'll have that opportunity to do that from home. And then back by special request, since actually I created the presentation, we're going to do a Researching Family History program on November 26th. That program was virtual in February, and we had such a response that they were hoping for in-person sessions as well. This program also touches on how to preserve your family memories and artifacts that you might have. And we heard, when we started to talk about seniors program, we had several come forward of like, you're doing this, right? Like, you're going to do this program for us in person. So we felt we really needed to do that. In December, we have Dr. Alison Meek. She's a historian from King's College here in London. She's going to discuss cults and conspiracies, and in particular, the Jonestown cult. And then to start the new year, we also have Pauline from Just in Time Solutions, who's going to share clutter busting tricks and tips with everyone in January on the 22nd. And then finally, we're in discussion with the Creative Age Network and St. Thomas Public Library to offer a creative program series in January and February as well. And in that case, the library will make that our focus. So then all virtual programs, we do hold them on Zoom, and all necessary supplies are provided by the library. We send out little kits to the branch that they want to pick up their materials. And then finally, our next session for the Seniors Connect program begins in Strathroy on October 23rd. So these sessions include device setup, online safety, library apps, and opportunities to ask questions that participants might have, and then an optional additional week to review any topics if they wish. This is built on the Seniors Connect tech sessions that we ran last fall. They're being led by Laura and Kara Mack, and then we also have a Strathroy branch staff member who's going to join. And so the iPads that we received with the grant purchasing, those will be made available for this program as well. And then in 2026, we plan to hold sessions in Mount Bridges, Thorndale, and Adelaide Metcalfe, as we're reaching out to communities without similar programs already running in their area.
Thank you. That's a very detailed report. I've got maybe just one question. I'm going to open it up for any questions from the board. But as far as numbers go, are you satisfied with the type of turnout you're getting, or is it what you expect? Or could you just comment on that briefly? I'd like to know, because there's quite a few programs there, and you look at them and think, is it a class of two, or are you getting the results that you're looking for turnout?
Absolutely. So Seniors Month in 2024, we had 149 people attend 19 programs across the county. We certainly see the highest attendance in the social programs. So Monday Moments, we have drop-in coffee mornings, things like that. Those do tend to be our higher attended programs. Part of the, I think, issue, sometimes staff feel bad if there's only 2 people at the program, but then when we receive feedback from staff about, and about the participants, about how much they enjoyed it, we do consider those successes. And so that's why a lot of the programs here, we've tried to focus on the themes where we are seeing the attendance. So definitely our socials and any sort of craft activity is always a really large draw.
Yeah, I guess as it goes along, and the more you present, maybe the more turnout you'll get. But once people are aware that that's what's being offered, maybe it's spread around, I think it'll help with the expansion. Any questions then from the board with respect to business report? Ruth Ann.
Yeah. I'm curious, when you were speaking about numbers, what about the demographic of people who belong to the library that are considered seniors? I'm just curious, what is the possible audience you could get, and could you ever get to the point where you're tapped out?
So then, the type of programs, and when you go through all this, it seems it's fairly fluid, that it change on a, you know, on a base, on a what the staff and so on feels is kind of a need in the community for it. But with doing that, it could see peaks and valleys, you know, from one month to the other, and where you are in which community you're in. So I think it's hard to put I'm gonna say a gauge to it as far as the turnout goes, but you know, I know it's something that's needed in the communities. Is there any other questions then for Liz with respect to this report? Very well written report. Okay, then, seeing none, then I look for a mover and seconder. The seniors program update presentation be received for information. Moved by Ruth Ann, seconded by Sharon McDonald. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to 4B, which is 2026 Library Budget Discussion, presentation by Lindsay Brock, our Director of Library Services, CAO. Lindsay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Similar to our structure last year, I'm coming to you here in our September meeting just to have kind of a broad discussion and overview of our 2026 budget planning, and then I'll come back in October with those more firm figures. So we do receive the bulk of our good chunk of our budget figures from the Treasury Department, looking for that payroll data. That'll come probably middle of October. And then another portion of the budget that we're working on right now is our technology budget, so working with the IT department on that, so we're going back and forth on those figures. So right now, this presentation before you is kind of those broad strategic priorities and projects and how they align with our strategic plan. So hoping we can have that discussion today. So looking at the first slide there, I'll go over, review the library's strategic priorities and goals and how they align with the 2026 budget. And then we'll talk a bit about 2026 opportunities, so initiatives and projects that we would like to include in the budget. And then talk about next steps and what we'll be coming back to in October and what the timeline for the whole budget process is. So refreshing our memory about our current strategic plan, our first strategic priority is create exceptional experiences. So within that, we have the goal to make every interaction with the library, physical or digital, meaningful, helpful, and empowering. What we'll do to achieve that goal is provide access to both traditional and digital services and programs to enhance service delivery, assess policies and procedures to address and ease barriers to access, provide support and resources to library staff to maintain existing high customer service standards, and make space for joy, creativity, and curiosity in our collections and events. So in 2025, you supported an increase of $15,500 to the collections budget, and our goal for 2026 is to maintain this budget at a total of $476,500 to continue to support access to both physical and digital collections. We do see, we do anticipate that there will be increases to the cost of collection items. But there's flexibility within how we use collections, balancing between print collections and digital resources, looking at usage, looking at things like especially usage of our DVD collection, which continues to decrease as people move even more to streaming platforms. So maintaining that budget at that $476,500 will be reasonable for 2026. The topic of library fines was discussed at this time last year, and as you requested, you have a report to consider today that relates to easing barriers to access, so that aligns with this strategic priority. The 2026 budget will maintain funds to support training and professional development opportunities for staff, and so one project we're working on is creating a resource library for staff where they can more easily access links to training and recorded sessions. So that aligns with that priority, the action of providing support and resources. And the 2026 budget will maintain funds to support programming and experiences in our branches, including special guests and demonstrations, programming like Liz just spoke about, traveling technology kits, and the staff time to develop those kits, and the staff time to develop, execute, and evaluate staff-led programming. So all of these activities and these budget lines align with the strategic priority of creating exceptional experiences. Next slide speaks to our second priority, so the priority to expand our reach, with the goal bring the library to more people in more ways, physically, virtually, and socially. And what we'll do, strengthen community partnerships with schools, Indigenous communities, and local organizations, collaborate and partner with local organizations to support community well-being, further develop the library's community hub model, supporting activities that position the library as an active presence in the community, and strengthen our communications to build greater awareness, trust, and visibility. So the 2026 budget will support outreach and partnership activities. So those are funded from our staffing budget, those are funded from our programming and supplies budget. And right now we're having discussions around who we need to connect with more, how we can share information, and what networks we may need to invest more time in. That's information that, some feedback that we received from our community survey back at the beginning of the year, conversations that in particular that we've had with Social Services Department and with Joe, the acting director there, about different groups that he's involved with that perhaps the library was more closely aligned with, 5-10 years ago, and we need to revisit those relationships and consider what networks we're investing our time in, and what outreach and partnership activities that we should be pursuing. And this strategic priority also connects to a major project that we'll be including in the budget, a facilities master plan, and I'll speak more to that in a couple slides, but it really speaks to that, further developing the library's community hub model goal. And then our final strategic priority is support lifelong learning, with the goal to foster a culture of continuous learning for all ages. And what we'll do, offer programs for all ages related to all forms of literacy, including reading, information, cultural, digital, and physical literacy. Facilitate technology access and training to educate and improve digital literacy. Provide spaces and opportunities to support innovation and creativity. And encourage dialogue, critical thinking, and community-led knowledge sharing. So the 2026 budget will support this priority and goals by continuing to support literacy programming, resources, and activities. And again, those are funded through our programming budget line, through supplies, and through salary and benefits. The capital budget will include maintaining the replacement schedule for existing technology and adding new technology to support those in-branch experiences for patrons. So things like our traveling technology kits, as well as our maker spaces and creative spaces that exist. And continuing on with the success of our community survey in January, we look forward to allocating staff time to additional engagement and knowledge sharing opportunities with staff and patrons through surveys and program evaluation input. So that's an overview of our strategic priorities and how the 2026 budget and activities will align with our strategic plan. So moving on to the 2026 opportunities slide. First we have library fine revenue. So we have the library fines report later in the agenda, where you'll be asked to decide how to proceed. And if you approve the recommendation of the report for removing library fines, we would be looking at a projected loss of revenue of around $5,600 for 2026. So, for 2025, we have projected $8,000 revenue for the lost books and fines revenue, and about 30% of that revenue comes from lost books or damaged books. That would not change if you made the decision to remove fines. So there was that 30% of that budget would still remain as revenue within the overall 2026 budget. So there's that to consider as an opportunity. Next, library staffing structure. So with the 2026 budget, I would like to prioritize reintegrating the library services manager position into the management structure of the library. So this position has been vacant since 2017 when that was the position that I previously held. It is the deputy CEO position. It supervises, when I held that position, it supervises library headquarters and all activities there, so deliveries, acquisitions, special projects. It supports supervisors and branch activities, so support for things like scheduling, programming, and staff training, health and safety activities, supporting the committee work that we do, as well as making those changes at the branches to ensure staff health and safety. Assisting with branch development projects, things like assessing and enhancing our security systems, purchasing, planning, furnishings, any enhancement at branches, and support for any renovation projects. And then it also covers oversight support for collection development and programming. So right now, a number of those things I'm doing, and then portions of that I look for support from some of our other positions within the system. But our library work is increasingly demanding and challenging, and there has been a significant change coming out of the pandemic period with those challenges and the level of work and the busyness of our branches. I think that you have done a really good job of supporting our staffing structure at the branch level, where we have added a number of full-time positions over the past 8 to 10 years that have helped in particular to support those comprehensive branches, but to support the system overall. And now it feels like the right time to reintegrate this position into the management structure to help provide that support, that system level support. So I can see that my time is increasingly being spent, or it should be spent, working on that long-term visioning and planning for the library, working on projects like this facilities master plan, looking ahead to see what the next 10, 15, 20 years of the library need to look like, and all of the work that comes along with that, aligning policies, procedures, and resources, and kind of the HR side of my job becoming greater. It's more of a responsibility. We have a larger team, larger individual staff teams, where we need to take a different approach to supporting staff development, performance management, and navigating and managing any challenges and incidents that come up. So to help support those current demands and workload, and to help prepare for the work and projects that are to come, I feel this position is needed to provide that support and expertise. So that proposal will be included. I'm working with the Treasury Department to include that in the staffing and salaries budget, so that you can understand the financial impact of that. And those numbers will come. I have rough numbers for what the cost would be for 2025, but those numbers will be more confirmed for the October meeting. I can take questions at any time if it helps to stop there, but if not, I can move on and we can come back to questions at the end as well. The vehicle replacement reserve, this is something that you allocated $20,000 to in 2025. So the goal would be to continue to contribute to this annually to help support the purchase of a new van, which will likely happen around 2029. Put a lot of kilometers on that van every year. Feels like it's revolutionized the way that we do business, and really in every project that we work on, we kind of think back to how did we do this before we had a van. We're extremely happy with the vehicle, extremely happy with our delivery staff, and it's exciting to be able to plan ahead to continue this on. So having the funds there in that reserve account would help make that purchase possible. Library software migration project. So this project will commence in November and should be completed in May of 2026. This includes moving to the Polaris product, which is more tailored for public library systems. So it's with our same vendor. It's really just an upgrade to a different system that has different functionality, and we'll be coming back with more information on that as that project progresses, so that you can see those changes and then see our plan for helping with staff training and all of the work that will come in 2026. It includes moving to a hosted system, so the vendor will host our server and provide that support remotely, versus right now it's responsibility of the county IT department to manage those servers, and that's an added responsibility on them. It's an added cost for having to upgrade and maintain those servers, and at times when we regularly have upgrades to our software, and because we manage our own servers right now, it can mean delays, challenges, things that our vendor can't do themselves, things that they need the IT department here to handle. So it's really going to improve those experiences in that process.
And of course, now I have a question. Where's the vendor located?
Yes. So it is a vendor that has locations around the world, but they do manage a number of library systems in Canada, and so those servers that hold Canadian data are in Canada. I'll confirm the exact location so that I can have that information for you, but that's another added benefit, that it has different cybersecurity supports, and that responsibility would be on the vendor versus on our department to maintain. So I'll get that exact location for you. And finally, so the last priority on that slide, I believe, is the library facilities master plan. So Middlesex County has experienced significant growth in the past few years, not a surprise to any of you, but this raises questions about how Middlesex County Library needs to grow and change in the coming years. We think back 10 years ago when we had our first comprehensive library built in Park Hill, and the evolution of that project, right? That was a huge amount of change and a huge amount of growth for the library, and it was our focus for many years. So now I think we need to take a step back and get more information about where the library needs to go and where it needs to be in the next 15 to 20 years. Working with all of our local municipalities, service partners, hearing from our patrons and hearing from staff. And so that's where this project comes in. So a facilities master plan is a critical opportunity to align library spaces with long-term growth and evolving needs. By providing a comprehensive assessment of our current facilities and projecting those future requirements, the plan ensures that investments in library infrastructure are strategic, fiscally responsible, and responsive to demographic, technological, and social change. The plan supports community growth by identifying how library spaces can be modernized and optimized. Ultimately, a facilities master plan positions the library as an adaptable, future-ready resource that not only preserves our essential services, those things that we know are running well and that are essential to our communities, but also enhances the library's role as a catalyst for community connection, resilience, and innovation. So based on similar projects completed by other library systems, including one that the London Public Library is, I think, currently in the middle of right now, we anticipate that a budget of $80,000 to $100,000 would be required to complete a comprehensive work plan that includes engagement of all local municipalities, as well as staff and community engagement. That's what I would be proposing to include in this budget. And can provide more information about what that might look like. Obviously, projects can be scaled; they can change based on the budget that is approved. But when we look at our system with 15 branches, a headquarters that services multiple municipalities with growth, almost all around the county, I think that a significant investment is warranted in order to, you do this once, you do it right, and you're set for that 15 to 20 year period to give us that roadmap and that plan that we can use to successfully execute your vision. So that's the facilities master plan project that would be proposed in the 2026 budget. That's a list of priorities that I think would make for a very exciting 2026. So our next steps will be to bring that draft budget to the October Library Board meeting for you to review, discuss, and provide feedback on. October 31st, those draft budgets are submitted to the Treasury Department. In November, there's going to be a review by the senior management team at the county. December, the review of budget documents by the Budget Committee, and then a January 2026 timeline for presentation of our budgets. So that's an overview, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Is there any questions with respect to this overview? Go ahead, Ruth Ann.
I actually have one more question. Concerning the moving of the servers, we've been fairly fortunate in that we haven't had much happen in terms of cyber attacks and shutting down our system. What kind of reputation does the new vendor have in terms of preventing cyber security attacks? And have any of the libraries in Canada that they handle been shut down?
Thank you, Ruth. Excellent question. So at this point, I haven't heard of any cybersecurity incidents that have impacted library software. And I think that we can point to Elgin County, unfortunately, and their cyber security incident, and the fact that library services were able to continue because those servers were off-site, and there is that second level of like authentication where there are unique logins, and there's that system. So once Elgin was able to get back up and running in terms of internet access, and they actually borrowed some Wi-Fi hotspots from Middlesex to help with that work, then they were able to access their library software and library staff accounts in a safe way. So I think that the security measures that are in place are very strong, and that they understand the risks. I think maybe 10 years ago, libraries didn't seem like they were a target, but we obviously know that's not the case, and so the vendors, they make those, they take security very, very seriously, and so that's definitely something that went into this decision of this migration.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions in respect to the proposed budget format? And so we'll get a better peek at it, I guess, in October. But if there's no other questions, then I look for the 2026 library budget discussion presentation be received for information. Moved by Mary Gay, second by Sharon McMillan. Further comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Under action items, 5A, library fines, report from Lindsay Brock. Lindsay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last year around this time, we had a discussion around library fines in relation to the 2025 budget, and there was the request that a report be brought back so that it could be considered and the impact on the 2026 budget, and a decision could be made. So the report before you talks about what other libraries have done, how many have made this transition to a fine-free model. So in recent years, over 270 libraries in North America have transitioned. The pandemic period definitely accelerated this movement, especially when many libraries, including us, stopped accepting cash payments for a period of time because of those pandemic concerns, and many libraries then kind of use that as an opportunity to make the transition away from fines altogether, and those activities also were done to ensure a maximum number of patrons could access library collections during that period of time. So back in 2018, the library board approved removing fines on children's collection items, and you can see the chart below, on that first page shows that change from 2017 to 2019. That change in revenue from 22,578 to 13,377. As well as reductions since then. 2021 was an anomaly because many branches were still closed or operating on reduced hours, so that's why that revenue is so low. But from these figures on this chart, you can see the impact of a few things. So like I said, significant fine revenue reduction after removing those fines on children's items. Increased use of digital collections, so you borrow an ebook or an e-audio book and it returns automatically. You never get a fine on digital collection items, so that has had an impact for those people who perhaps used to take out print items and now have moved to digital entirely. And then this year, the implementation of automatic renewals for physical collection items. So when you take out a physical book or collection item, as long as no one is waiting for it, as long as there are no holds, it will renew twice automatically. So that means that you're not automatically accruing those fines unless you then go past your final renewal period. Like I said earlier, approximately 30% of fine and lost item charges can be allocated to lost or damaged items, and this would not change in a fine-free model. We still expect people to return items when, when they're due, and even once they're overdue. We expect them to be returned to the library. If they're not, then we put that charge on people's accounts. So the charge for the lost item, and then there's also a processing fee that's involved because we then have to pay for processing of a new item. So that portion of the fine and lost item revenue would still remain in the budget. Looking at current patron accounts, we can see that 2,258 active accounts have money owing, and 3,992 expired accounts have money owing. So there was the question, what does an expired account mean? Our account, library accounts, your library cards expire every 2 years. That's really an opportunity for you to come into the branch and confirm your address and your information and make sure that we have everything up to date. So that's why your accounts expire. In the report speaks to potentially the bulk of these charges being from fines versus lost items because of the amount owing. And while we can't be certain about why there are this number of expired accounts, we could make the case that someone has fines on their account and they no longer want to come to the library because they don't want to have that interaction, they can't make that payment, those sorts of factors there. So libraries report a few common reasons for eliminating fines. The report says 4. I have 3, 1 to 3 numbered, and then number 4. So I have a formatting issue that I apologize for. So fines stand in the way of the core library value of providing equitable library service. Fines are not a sustainable revenue model for public libraries. And number 3, the implementation of fine-free policies has shown to increase circulation in active library members. And then that 4th point is when you consider the organizational cost of those fines. So it did some calculations that speak to the amount of staff time that goes into these interactions for 15, 25, 50 cents, and what those staffing costs are looking like so far this year. So to advance our strategic priority of create exceptional experiences, and specifically our goal to assess policies and procedures to address and ease barriers to access, we would like the Middlesex County Library Board to consider and approve a fine-free model for Middlesex County Library. There are recommendations there below, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lindsay. Is there any questions with respect to this report? Are we in agreement with it? Because if we are, then I look for a mover and seconder that the library fines report be received for information, and that the library board approve a fine-free model for Middlesex County Library take effect January 1st, 2026, and that the applicable policies be revised and brought to the board for approval. Moved by Mary Gay, seconded by... Oh, sorry, did you have a question, Mary Gay? Okay, go ahead.
If I could. Thank you, Lindsay, for the report. And I guess you're aware that the amount of time spent on collecting these fines by staff has always been a concern of mine. Now, I have no problem with recommendations. I'd like to just add, if I could, that it be for a 1-year trial and then reviewed again in 1 year. No fines for 1 year. Beginning January 20,
For the 2027
January
budget.
1st. Yep, thank you.
Is there any, okay, so that's moved with the amendment. I need a seconder for that. Warden? Any further comments or questions on that then? If not, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Next, we have our policy review of the library and political elections. Report from Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this was a fairly straightforward review of this policy. So the library and political elections policy. The current policy has been revised to reflect changes in related policies. And the library continues to provide resources within our capacity and legal limitations to support the democratic process. And looking ahead to the next election period, I think it was important to review this policy and then to communicate back to staff to confirm what activities can happen in their branches. So revisions to the policy, it's been formatted into the updated policy template. It refers to the new library room bookings policy, so that you passed back in May, and it refers to the updated community information policy that I think was reviewed in 2024. So those are the attachments, the current policy and the revised policy, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions with respect to this? Okay, then, if not, then I look for a mover and seconder. The policy review, the library and political elections report be received for information, and the library board approve the updates to the library and political elections policy, and the Middlesex County Library Board manual be updated to reflect this review. Moved by Sharon McMillan, seconded by Ruth Ann. Any further comments or questions on this at all? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. We're going to move on to item 6 now, which is correspondence and information items. And I'm going to read through them. If you have any questions, you can try to catch your hand going up. We'll move with 6A, systems calculations 2025 back to 2024. Next is system circulation 2025 back to 2024. Next is library activity report. Lindsay, do you want to comment on this one, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a few items to point out that have happened since our last meeting in June. So a couple facility updates. So water bottle filling station was installed at the Park Hill branch in partnership with the municipality of North Middlesex. Very smooth, great, always great working with Brandon and Kent there, and it was well used over the summer. People really appreciated fresh water while it was so hot. The library provided a letter of support for Middlesex Center's application to the EASE grant. So this, if successful, would support proposed accessibility improvements to the Delaware branch, which would be very exciting. It is our only branch that is not accessible. There are a couple steps up into the space, so looking forward to hearing the results of that. Ruplo training event, so myself and two staff will be attending this. It's this week. It's an annual event that the administrators of rural and urban public libraries of Ontario put on every year, a training opportunity for staff as well as CEOs. So we'll be attending those sessions Wednesday to Friday. I was asked to help support this FIMS MLIS community consultation group, so that's working with the library school here in London on their reaccreditation and kind of reviewing sections of their curriculum. So that should be a really interesting project to be part of. Staff training and development. Staff have been taking the nonviolent crisis intervention training with Bettina, so refresher training that all staff participate in to help de-escalate situations. Really helpful to learn those skills for working at the circulation desk. A point about the Library Services Center dissolution. So Library Services Center was one of our primary book vendors really prior to the pandemic. It operated as a cooperative. It was a nonprofit organization. So Middlesex County Library was a member of this cooperative. Since then it has dissolved, went through all of the financial process to do so, and I participated in a meeting where members were asked to vote on how the remaining funds would be distributed, whether they would be distributed based on purchasing power, in which case some larger libraries would have gotten a much larger chunk of the money that was left over, or a standard amount distributed across all library systems. And so the successful option that the group went with was this equal distribution. So we anticipate receiving just under $10,000, which will be put back into our collections budget likely. Not a huge amount for us, but a lot of these library systems that were members are small single branches, often rural remote systems. So they really made the case that this would be a significant benefit to their budgets, and so that's how that decision was made. Summer at the library was very busy, and Shauna and Liz will be coming back with a report for the October meeting once they've gone through all the statistics to give you just a recap of what our summer looked like. We're excited to receive funding from London Community Foundation for branch projects. So projects that the branch supervisors put forward. Each of our 15 branches gets a funding allocation. So again, and this funding has been confirmed and the projects are ready to move ahead with. So ranging from supporting more community gardens to circulating kits and like guest presenters and things like that. So we'll come back with a report on those activities as we work through that. Middlesex County 25th anniversary activities. So you can see the beautiful display of the coloring pages. That was one of the activities that the library helped support over the summer. We also took part in the tree giveaway event back at the end of June, and we'll also be supporting the promotion of the Warden for a Day contest. We are encouraging food donations until October 31st, working with Social Services Department on this, because food banks around the county, they're experiencing so much use already. Often these food drives happen during just holiday seasons, but the need is there all year round. So we're trying to help support those activities. Legacy of Hope exhibition. So we will be hosting the Where Are the Children? Healing the Legacy of the Residential Schools exhibition from the Legacy of Hope Foundation. This will be in the Strathroy branch. It's going to be in the program room there. So it will be like a museum style display with text and photographs, as well as like an interactive video display. And this will be on display from September 6th to October 4th. So it will be there over the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And I wanted to add a note about Ontario Public Library Week. So another of the agenda items was the poster for Ontario Public Library Week, but just wanted to highlight we'll be doing some staff spirit days that staff have planned. So Ontario Public Library Week runs October 19th to 25th. Monday is going to be Cardigan Day because that's the unofficial uniform of library staff. So if you see a lot of people wearing fun cardigans on the Monday, that's why. Thursday is Throwback Thursday, so each branch will pick their favorite decade and dress to impress. And then some activities that we're going to be supporting: ghost art painting. There's a bingo challenge and themed scavenger hunts during that week as we celebrate libraries. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So Nadine completed this report, so it covers the period of January to August, so it's a significant amount of time, and she wanted to highlight a few activities that have happened. So under statistics and reporting, you can see that early on programming has switched to this Key-On digital sign-in system. So this is a centralized province-wide registration and sign-in platform. Implementation is being done along with the City of London and their support. So with this system, families will simply have like a key fob that they'll scan to sign in quickly and securely. There's also a change in how unique families are counted. So I know that Nadine has spoken about how statistics are gathered and how they're communicated. So this will be changing, and you'll see the impact on what our statistics look like. So going forward, the total number of newly served families will appear lower compared to previous years, because that duplication across different locations will no longer occur. And then specifically for 2025, the number of newly served may appear inflated. So those are some changes that we expect. But so far our experience with Key-On is very good, and we'll make that statistical gathering process a lot smoother and more streamlined. Moving ahead a couple more pages. So kindergarten transition and supports. We've talked about a few of these projects before, things like the Kinder Connect program. So those are opportunities that happened prior to the summer, where families and kids had the opportunity to meet each other and connect before they even move into kindergarten, because it is a big transition. So we had those Kinder Connect programs. Ready, Set, Learn, we've talked about that before, so that's our 4-week school readiness program, and we continue to run that in multiple locations, always with a wait list. And so we do provide kind of virtual resources that can help support those families who, unfortunately, we don't have the capacity to serve everyone. Something a bit new this year was the Ready, Set, Learn lending kits. So that the kits contain activities and supporting resources, so families can take those home and do those activities at home. And the feedback on those lending kits has been very positive. The next page speaks to Indigenous resources and programs, so I wanted to highlight how much work is happening here. So aligning with that Child Care and Early Years Service System Plan priority of exploring opportunities for developing and offering inclusive and culturally relevant programs. The following resources were developed in partnership with educators at Anji Majtawad, so that's the Early On Child and Family Center at Chippewas of the Thames First Nation. And this has been a really successful partnership that Nadine and Early On staff have been pursuing. One of the activities out of this partnership are these Tough Tray kits. So a Tough Tray is a big shallow tray, and it sits on a stand, and it's good for sensory activities and hands-on learning. And so 3 kits have been developed that introduce the beauty of Anishinaabemowin, the Ojibwe language, and the Lenape language, so that children can learn the names of, for example, and let's talk about bugs. They can learn the names of common bugs in both languages, in both English and the Indigenous languages, and help make those connections. We had a lot of really good feedback about our Tales and Trails installation over the summer. That as well, it featured Indigenous stories and in both Indigenous language and English, and so this is an extension of that learning. As well, we have the Ready to Learn kit for Indigenous families. So again, that incorporates the Anishinaabemowin language throughout it. Indigenous Food Literacy Family Lending Kit. So this will explore healthy eating and Indigenous food practices at home. And then, again, looking to the London Community Foundation, Early On was successful in an application for funding through the Maple Leaf Community Fund. So we were awarded $2,348 to support the acquisition of equipment to support this, to support program delivery. And so we're working with the Early On Center out of Chippewas of the Thames First Nation and an Indigenous Food Sovereignty Coordinator from Southwest Ontario Aboriginal Health Access Center to offer a series of food literacy programs for children and their caregivers. So that's a program that we're really excited to work on this year. And then additional information about other partnerships, lots of partnership activity happening with different organizations coming out to programming, and library or Early On staff being able to make connections with different service providers to help support families and caregivers around the county.
Any question with that report that was presented by Lindsay, Nadine's report? Go ahead, Ruth.
Just a comment about Nadine has her hands in a lot of different aspects of partnerships here. Really well done.
Yeah, I guess when I look at this and look at this report, when we do the budget, we'll be discussing that because it's mostly provincial funding that supports this, right? So it's important we can keep getting that through our the agency that looks after that funding for us. No other questions, then I move to item 6E, Teamwork and Partnership Drive, Lucan Library Summer Project Programs. There was an article. And 6F, Ontario Public Library Week poster. Talk about that briefly. And 6G is Middlesex Early On September calendar. We're well through that now. If there's no other questions, then I look for mover and seconder that items 6A to 6G be received for information. Moved by Ruth, seconded by Mary Gay. Further comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Are there any inquiries? Go ahead, Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering, following the incident of the little toddler who was unfortunately killed as a result of a car going into a daycare center. I know in Dorchester we've been asked not to park vehicles, and that, as far as I know, it involves caregivers dropping off their children and picking them up and that sort of thing. Does Middlesex have any comment on that as to are they going to be permanently barred from stopping in front of the daycare or parking? And if they are going to be, is there going to be something like bullards, or do you have any comments on how we are handling this?
Through the chair to the counselor. So we have information that's been provided from the child care center. So it impacts our operations at River Heights Early On and Child and Family Center. And so the direction that they've received is that they have to block those parking spaces that are right next to any program space. And so that, I think what the action that they've taken is they have blocked those spots off entirely. Some other operators have used their own staff cars to block those spaces so that they can't be used for those people coming and going. So at this time, we don't have information about what their plans are for the facility, but we know that that was part of the memo that came from the ministry, where it spoke to kind of more information to come. This would be the ideal of having those bollards, right? Those security measures in place. So we're kind of trying to manage that, because parking was difficult there to begin with. It was very limited. So I think that, but those spots are inaccessible. I know that there has been conversation with the municipality about whether there were other options in the area. But I can provide more information as we receive it. We're just kind of taking the child care operator, London Bridge, would take the lead on that work, and then it would, obviously impact our procedures as well.
Oh, do you have a comment?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, if I could just build on what Lindsay was saying from the human services side, and Joe and the team working at the CMSM level. There's, I think, 3 points we want to just build on that. Childcare operators in London Middlesex are working with their landlords, staff, and families to respond, obviously, to that minister's memo. Temporary measures are being taken to block the spaces adjacent to childcare, while more permanent measures are explored. And ultimately, the safety of children is the top priority of licensees and our teams here. The city and the county are supporting childcare operators as they work within their diverse environments to identify the best way to prevent a tragedy similar to what occurred to the children, families, and staff of the childcare center in Richmond Hill. So it's an ongoing process at the front lines and also at the county and city CMSM level, working together. And I think Joe and the team, in coordination with Lindsay and the team, will report back as we have further information on that.
Any other inquiries then? Does that answer, Sharon?
It does. I know that as the conversation deepens, we'll probably find out, obviously there would be a cost to anything like that, so more information as to who's responsible. Is a shared cost or whatever, but that's fine. I can wait for more information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other inquiries? And if not, go to item 8, new business. Our next meetings are Tuesday, October 21st, 2025, and Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. Moved on item 9A. 9A is number 50, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the September 23rd, 2025 meeting of the Library Board. I looked at the bylaw be given first and second reading. I need a mover and seconder. Moved by Ruth. Seconded by Mary Gay. Okay, I got that one right. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Then I need a mover and seconder. The bylaw be given third and final reading. Moved by Mary Gay, seconded by the warden. Any further comments? All in favor? It's carried. Item 10, I look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ruth and seconded by the warden. Thank you. All in favor? Carried.